The air in the room was thick with tension as Sean Diddy Combs' children gathered, awaiting the reading of their father's final will. Christian, Quincy, Justin, Chance, and the twins, Jesse and Delilah, sat motionless, each struggling to contain their anticipation. Diddy, once the embodiment of power, wealth, and influence, had built an empire that spanned music, fashion, and spirits, shaping the lives of his family in ways they could never have imagined. But now, with his life embroiled in legal turmoil and his legacy at risk, the question on everyone's mind was simple. What would Diddy leave behind for his children? As the lawyer opened the envelope, the future of the Combs family hung in the balance, and what followed would change everything. A family divided. Tension in the room. The lawyer's voice was calm as he read the names of the beneficiaries. Christian and Justin were the first to hear their names mentioned, and from their expressions, it was clear that they had been expecting a significant share. But, as the will unfolded, it became apparent that not everyone would leave the room with their expectations met. Quincy, Diddy's son from a previous relationship with actress and model Kim Porter, was noticeably absent from certain sections of the will, leaving him visibly stunned and confused. Was he being excluded, or had Diddy chosen to allocate his wealth in an unexpected way? Then came the biggest shock of all. A portion of Diddy's fortune was missing. The lawyer's words seemed almost surreal as they revealed that large sums of money had been transferred to offshore accounts, hidden in business ventures, or depleted due to Diddy's ongoing legal troubles. The Combs children had always lived lives of unparalleled luxury, but now they faced an uncertain future. How could they maintain their lavish lifestyles if the money wasn't there? How could they even keep their father's empire intact if the financial foundation had crumbled? As the room fell into silence, one of Diddy's sons, visibly trembling and with his hands shaking, tried to process the information. His reaction wasn't just about money. It was about the betrayals and secrets that seemed to surround their father. For years, Diddy had been a beacon of power and success. But now, in his final moments, he had left behind a complex web of decisions and revelations that would forever change the course of his children's lives. The lawyer continued to read, but the Combs family had already begun to wrestle with the implications of what was unfolding before them. The battle for control. Who will lead the empire? As the lawyer's reading continued, a key question began to take shape in the minds of the Combs children. Who would take control of the empire that Diddy had spent a lifetime building? In typical family business succession, the oldest son is often expected to inherit the mantle. But in Diddy's case, things were far from typical. Quincy, while raised by Diddy, was not his biological son, and this raised the possibility that Diddy might choose to pass on leadership to Christian, his biological son, who had already made his own mark in the music world. Christian's name was often linked with Diddy's in the media, and he had proven himself as a rising star in his own right. Would he become the face of the Combs empire? Meanwhile, Justin, the more private son, had always stayed out of the spotlight, preferring to keep a low profile compared to his father and siblings. Would he step into the role of the family's next leader? Or would he remain content to stay out of the public eye? The twins, Jesse and Delilah, were still too young to be contenders for leadership, but they would eventually play a crucial role in determining the future of the family legacy, especially considering the trust Diddy had set up for them. The situation became even more complicated when the will revealed that Diddy's empire was facing significant legal challenges, including the ongoing federal investigations and the possibility of assets being seized. If Diddy's businesses were stripped away or frozen due to the legal issues, his children might inherit nothing but the family name. The Combs children were suddenly forced to grapple with a reality they had never imagined. Their father's empire might not survive the legal battles, and their inheritance could be nothing but an empty shell. The financial crisis, hidden wealth, offshore accounts, and legal troubles. Diddy's financial situation had always been shrouded in mystery. Despite his immense wealth, there were always whispers about how much of his fortune was tied up in complex business ventures, investments, and assets that were difficult to trace. The will reading provided a glimpse into Diddy's intricate financial dealings, and what it revealed was not what anyone expected. Much of his wealth had been transferred to offshore accounts, hidden in investments, or funneled into legal defenses against his mounting legal troubles. Legal experts had long speculated about the state of Diddy's finances, especially given the high cost of his ongoing legal battles. He was facing charges related to sex trafficking, financial fraud, and money laundering, all of which had the potential to drain his resources. Brand deals that once flowed in from major companies had dried up, and his businesses, which had once been the backbone of his wealth, were now under intense scrutiny. His Ciroc deal, his fashion line Sean John, and his other investments all faced the threat of being lost or devalued in the face of mounting lawsuits and federal investigations. The PR crisis that accompanied these revelations was immense. Industry experts speculated that Diddy might have been trying to protect his brand by shifting wealth into secret accounts, possibly to shield assets from being seized or used in future legal settlements. This made the situation even more complicated for his children, who were left to wonder if they would inherit anything at all. Some insiders claimed that Diddy may have even left behind secret funds for certain individuals, possibly women from his past or unknown heirs, but these claims were unconfirmed, adding another layer of intrigue to the situation. Legal chaos, federal investigations, and lawsuits. The legal drama surrounding Diddy was more than just a backdrop to the will reading. It was a central factor in the disarray that followed his passing. The Combs family was not just dealing with the shock of losing their patriarch, they were also facing the terrifying possibility that the empire Diddy had built could be dismantled by federal investigations and lawsuits. Sex trafficking charges, money laundering accusations, and allegations of forced labor were all part of the larger narrative that loomed over Diddy's businesses and legacy. Lawyers representing Diddy's children were scrambling to protect what remained of his assets, while also trying to navigate the complicated legal terrain that seemed to shift daily. Some feared that if the federal government successfully pursued charges against Diddy's empire, there might not be anything left for the Combs children to inherit. The once untouchable mogul was now fighting for his freedom, and his family was left to deal with the aftermath. As the will reading concluded, the room was filled with a mixture of emotions: anger, confusion, disbelief. The Combs children were left to pick up the pieces of a shattered empire, with their inheritance in question and their futures uncertain. Who would emerge as the leader of the Combs family? And more importantly, would there even be anything left to fight for? These were the questions that would define the coming months as the Combs children fought not only for control of their father's legacy, but for their own place in a rapidly changing world. The fight for control. Diddy's jail time. In a dramatic turn of events, Diddy's legal woes took a significant leap forward. A federal judge, in a ruling that shocked many, denied his request for bail. As a result, Diddy was led from the courtroom straight into federal custody, a sobering moment that signaled just how deep the allegations against him go. This moment was years in the making, as law enforcement had been building a case against the mogul, connecting dots in a trail of sex crimes dating back to 2009. Prosecutors allege that Diddy operated a sex trafficking ring, orchestrating disturbing acts known as freak-offs, during which young women were allegedly coerced into sex acts over extended periods. For the Combs family, this arrest was the latest and most dramatic chapter in a story that had been unfolding for years. The public shock and awe of Diddy's criminal charges were compounded by the terrifying conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, where Diddy is being held. The facility has gained a notorious reputation, with numerous deaths and violent incidents plaguing its halls. For Diddy, a man accustomed to the lavish comforts of his empire, this stark and dangerous environment must be a severe shock to his system. Adding to the pressure, Diddy's legal team is struggling to secure his release on bail, citing the harsh and unsafe conditions at MDC Brooklyn, a place that has housed other high-profile defendants like R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell. With the pressure mounting, the question becomes, how long can Diddy endure in such a toxic environment, and how will his children, already burdened by his legal battles, navigate the collapse of their father's empire? The financial fallout, how legal troubles could drain the Combs estate. As Diddy's empire faces multiple criminal investigations, one of the most significant impacts will be the financial fallout. Federal investigations have the power to freeze bank accounts, seize businesses, and prevent the distribution of assets in a will. Even if Diddy's will stipulated that his children would inherit a fortune, the government can seize those funds to cover legal fees, settlements, and potential fines. This could leave Diddy's children scrambling to fight for what little they may receive, if anything at all. The legal complexities don't end there. Diddy's empire is massive, spanning from Bad Boy Records to his luxury clothing line Sean John, and from his Ciroc vodka partnership to countless other investments. In the years leading up to his downfall, Diddy became known for his shrewd business acumen and relentless drive to build wealth. However, with the criminal charges mounting and his businesses being scrutinized, it's unclear how much of that wealth still exists. Some reports suggest that a significant portion of Diddy's fortune was hidden in offshore accounts, while other assets may have been depleted due to mounting legal fees and settlements from past lawsuits. This financial instability only compounds the uncertainty faced by Diddy's children. As the reality of the situation sinks in, they must now consider the possibility that the empire they expected to inherit could be nothing more than a mirage. As they confront the potential dissolution of their father's legacy, the question looms: can they fight to protect their inheritance, or will they be left to pick up the pieces of a shattered empire? Quincy Brown, The Uncertainty of a Non-Biological Son. Amidst the chaos surrounding Diddy's legal troubles and the dissolution of his empire, one of the most heartbreaking questions revolves around Quincy Brown, Diddy's longtime son. Unlike Diddy's biological children, Quincy's legal status has always been ambiguous. While he was raised by Diddy and Kim Porter as a member of the family, Quincy's status as a non-biological son raises significant questions about his entitlement to the same inheritance as his half-siblings. Quincy, now a budding music artist and actor, has always shared a special bond with Diddy, but the legal complexities of their relationship cast a shadow over his potential inheritance. Was Quincy ever formally adopted by Diddy? If not, does he have the legal standing to challenge the will or expect a fair share of Diddy's wealth? These questions have left Quincy in a precarious position, caught between his deep emotional ties to the Combs family and the reality that he may not be entitled to the same financial benefits as his biological siblings. For years, Quincy was seen as a legitimate member of the Combs family, often appearing in public alongside Diddy's biological children. He even starred in a reality series with his twin sisters, Jessie and Delilah, showcasing their close-knit family dynamic. But despite this public perception, the legal intricacies of their relationship remain unclear. If Diddy didn't officially adopt Quincy, he may now find himself excluded from the financial windfall his half-siblings might inherit, or worse, left out of the equation entirely if Diddy's assets are seized by the government. The twins, Jesse and Delilah's future. Without their father, the most tragic element of this saga is the fate of Diddy's youngest children, Jesse and Delilah. At just 17 years old, the twin daughters, who Diddy shares with the late Kim Porter, are now facing an uncertain future. Having already endured the heartbreaking loss of their mother in 2018, they now find themselves facing the possibility of losing their father as well. Diddy's bond with his twin daughters was deeply personal, and he made it clear in numerous public appearances that he would do everything in his power to provide for their future. From extravagant birthday parties to lavish gifts, Diddy spared no expense in showing his daughters how much they meant to him. In one particularly memorable moment, he gifted the twins Range Rovers for their sweet 16 birthdays, a symbol of his love and the opulent lifestyle he provided for them. However, now that Diddy is facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison, the future of his daughters has become a major concern. While Diddy's will reportedly established trusts for Jesse and Delilah, the real question is who will manage these funds. At 17, the twins are too young to oversee such significant financial matters on their own, and the person who assumes control of their inheritance will wield immense power over their future. Will Quincy, their older half-brother, step up to the challenge? Or will another family member, perhaps Christian, or even a relative from Kim Porter's side, take on this responsibility? The uncertainty surrounding their guardianship and financial future is just one of the many complications the twins will have to navigate in the wake of their father's downfall. The Sweet 16 that marked a turning point, Diddy's daughters, Jesse and Delilah, have had their fair share of public milestones, none more notable than their extravagant Sweet 16 celebration. Known for throwing over-the-top parties, Diddy spared no expense when it came to making the occasion unforgettable for his twin daughters. 2 Range Rovers, one white and black, and the other solid black, sat parked in front of their home as the twins emerged, eyes wide with excitement. It was a picture-perfect moment, the type of luxury Diddy had grown accustomed to providing for his family. "I'm so happy to see my kids and to be able to give them that comfort, knowing everything's all right," Diddy said, basking in the joy of his children's smiles. But behind the glittering facade of the Range Rovers and the festivities, a darker cloud looms over their future. The fallout from Diddy's arrest, his subsequent legal battles, and the possibility of the government seizing his assets have cast doubt on whether the twins, now just 17 years old, will be able to enjoy the same comforts that defined their childhood. The looming financial crisis. Will they inherit anything? While the lavish celebrations and material gifts have been part of their upbringing, the real concern for Jesse and Delilah is their inheritance. Diddy's wealth, built over decades of hard work in music, fashion, and business ventures, was meant to secure a legacy for his children. However, if the government moves to freeze his assets in light of his ongoing legal investigations, the financial future of his daughters could be in jeopardy. Reports suggest that Diddy did set up a trust fund for the twins, but with the overwhelming legal pressures on the family, including multiple lawsuits from alleged victims and his criminal charges for sex trafficking and racketeering, there's a significant risk that these assets could be frozen or seized. In a worst-case scenario, the twins could be left with nothing. The thought of Diddy's children being caught in the crossfire of his legal troubles raises the crucial question: will Jesse and Delilah, who have already experienced the devastating loss of their mother, Kim Porter, in 2018, also lose their financial security. Their emotional well-being, already fragile from the death of their mother, could be further shattered if they are forced to grow up under the weight of their father's criminal legacy. The uncertain role of guardianship. Who will step in? As minors, the twins' futures are not just in the hands of the courts, but in the hands of whoever is appointed to manage their inheritance. In situations like these, the court may step in to determine who will act as their legal guardian and oversee their trust funds. The question of guardianship is likely to be a point of contention within the Combs family. Could Diddy's oldest son, Christian, take on the responsibility of managing his sister's inheritance? Or is he even equipped for such a task? Christian, like his siblings, has his own career in music and entertainment, but he hasn't achieved the same level of success as his father. The weight of caring for his sisters, especially given their tumultuous family situation, might be more than he can handle. Other potential guardians include Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Kim Porter's family, or perhaps even a legal guardian appointed by the court. But what happens if the family, already fractured by Diddy's actions, and the looming legal battles, cannot agree on who should step in? The lack of clear leadership could create rifts that only add to the strain the twins are already under. Chance Combs, the separated daughter. While Jessie and Delilah have been part of Diddy's life from the beginning, Chance Combs, Diddy's daughter with Sarah Chapman, has had a different experience. Unlike his other children, Chance grew up somewhat removed from the public eye, spending more time outside the central hub of the Combs family. Would Chance, often viewed as somewhat of an outsider, receive an equal share of her father's fortune? Or would she be given less than her half-siblings? The question of favoritism is significant here, especially considering the family's divided nature and Diddy's complex relationships with the women in his life. Chance's potential inheritance is another piece of the puzzle. Would she be left in the same position as her sisters, without the financial resources she once thought she would inherit? Or, as some speculate, could she be left out altogether due to her more distant relationship with her father? These concerns are amplified by the fact that Diddy's will has yet to be fully disclosed. The absence of clear details regarding Chance's share could fuel further family tension and complicate her position within the family. Cassie, the ex-girlfriend and legal questions. Another layer of complexity is added by the presence of Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend and long-term partner, who has been at the center of some of the most disturbing allegations against him. Cassie, who was in a relationship with Diddy for over a decade, was the subject of a lawsuit that detailed years of alleged abuse, culminating in her departure from Diddy's life. After their breakup, Cassie filed a lawsuit that Diddy quickly settled, but the lingering question remains: did he leave anything behind for her in his will? Legal experts suggest that Diddy may have tried to protect his reputation by quietly setting aside hush money or other assets for Cassie as a way to control the narrative surrounding their relationship. If this is true, it would not only be a sign of Diddy's attempt to manage his image after his passing, but could also complicate matters for his children, who might question the fairness of such a gesture in light of the turmoil surrounding their father's legacy. The fallout, legal battles, and emotional strain. With Diddy facing multiple federal investigations and legal challenges, including sex trafficking charges, his children are likely to find themselves embroiled in legal battles. The sheer weight of these legal entanglements could be enough to tear apart the Combs family, who may have to fight not only to preserve their inheritance, but also to protect their father's legacy. As more victims come forward, the potential for further financial strain on the Combs estate increases. The emotional strain on Diddy's children is equally significant. They are already coping with the loss of their mother, Kim Porter, and now they must face the reality that their father's empire may crumble under the weight of his actions. Will they be able to weather this storm together, or will the financial and emotional fallout tear the family apart? The future of the Combs legacy hangs in the balance, and it seems more uncertain than ever before. A legacy in jeopardy. In the end, the future of Diddy's daughters, particularly Jessie and Delilah, is far from secure. While they once lived a life of unimaginable luxury, their future now depends on the decisions of the courts, family members, and the legal system. If the government seizes Diddy's assets, or if his legal battles continue to drain the estate, the financial security they once knew could disappear. More than just financial worries, the emotional toll of these events could prove to be even more devastating. As Diddy's children brace for the fallout from his legal troubles, one thing is clear: their lives will never be the same. The story of the Combs family, once a tale of fame, fortune, and privilege, now reads like a cautionary tale of how quickly the weight of scandal can unravel a legacy. Only time will tell how the family will fare in the aftermath of Diddy's fall from grace.